Hi guys, my name is Tanvi Dikshit. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I am back with another book review. Today, I'm going to be talking about a book that is considered to be a classic from English literature. This book, when it originally released, was very much talked about and somewhat controversial. Today we are reviewing Wuthering Heights by Emily Brontë. Let me start off by telling you a little bit about the author and why this book became so controversial. Emily Brontë was a British novelist and author, and she was best known actually for her only novel, which is Wuthering Heights. She actually came from a literary background. Her sisters, Charlotte Brontë and Anne Brontë, were themselves poets and novelists as well. The three sisters actually published a collection of poems together titled Poems by Currer, Ellis and Acton Bell. These were actually their pen names. Emily Brontë actually wrote under her pen name, that is Ellis Bell, and Wuthering Heights was first published under the same name. Her real name actually was published on a commercial edition for the first time in the year 1850, which was sadly 2 years after her early death. When this book first came out, it opened to mixed reviews. Some people really loved it, but some people were shocked because of the passion, the violence, the savagery that has been depicted in this book. After reading it, I kind of understood why it was so controversial, because if you think of the 1850s, the kind of societal structure that people lived in, and when you juxtapose that with the sort of themes that have been handled in this book, the kind of love story that has been depicted, it was so ahead of its time, I would say, for that era. And so yeah, that's why I think it became hugely controversial. People really hated on it also, but eventually the book came to be known as a classic from English literature. And sadly, Emily Brontë passed away too soon to actually appreciate the fame that this book would rise up to garner. The book starts off when Mr. Lockwood moves into a new property which is set on these dark moors. This property is called Thrushcross Grange, and Mrs. Dean is the caretaker at this property, and this property is actually owned by Mr. Heathcliff. Now, Ellen Dean, who's the caretaker, she is quite chatty and she starts to narrate the story of the owner to Mr. Lockwood. So basically the entire book, almost the entire book, has been narrated from the point of view of the caretaker Nellie Dean, who actually goes on to become quite a pivotal character in how the whole story plays out. Now, Catherine and Heathcliff, the two main characters from the book, actually come together in a very surprising way. Heathcliff, who's an orphan, is adopted by Catherine's father, Mr. Earnshaw, and they become childhood companions. They grow up together, playing, sharing all their joys and sorrows. They are very similar individuals in terms of being extremely wild and unruly, not conforming to any of the standards set by the society, not really adhering to the correctness of behavior as the society demands. After growing up to the age of 16, Catherine falls for this guy called Edgar Linton, who's more refined, more gentlemanly. Catherine herself, after spending a few weeks with the Linton family, becomes more refined and more ladylike. In a very passionate conversation, Catherine actually shares with Nellie that even though her and Heathcliff, they share an unexplainable, unparalleled bond, she could never marry Heathcliff because that would degrade her. And even though her and Edgar Linton are so correct for each other, he could never really be correct for her. Hearing only half of this conversation, Heathcliff takes off and disappears for years. He returns after many years, rich, educated, and very gentlemanly, and nobody really knows how he's done this. Meanwhile, Catherine is married to Edgar Linton and leading a supposedly happy life. But things unravel when Catherine and Heathcliff meet again, and the rest of the book is pretty much a story of hurt and revenge, sprinkled with heartbreak, deaths, savagery, and just basically the worst side of human nature. Okay, that's it. I won't tell you how the rest of the story pans out because I don't want to spoil it for you guys if you're planning to read it. But let me tell you my thoughts about the book. First, let's start off with the writing style. Now, I am not going to lie, the book is a difficult read. And by difficult, I mean the language, even though it's conversational, it doesn't really flow. A lot of characters speak in these accents. For example, the character of Joseph, which are very hard to decipher. Like, there were points in this book when I was like just trying to figure out, okay, what is this guy actually trying to say? It's kind of written in this old style of English, which a lot of readers might not be comfortable with. So unless you get really invested in the story, you'll feel that the book is dragging on for a bit. But boy, oh boy, once you get invested in the book, you cannot put it down. The characters, Catherine and Heathcliff, actually especially Heathcliff, the characters are so layered. Their emotions, their love, it is so layered. I absolutely love that. I love books which have complex characters, which you can't really, you know, understand with the first glance, but you kind of have to like delve deeper and dig within the layers to actually find out what this person is all about. Even though this love comes across as so toxic and destructive, as you delve deeper into it, you realize that the love is so deep and so intense that if they're not together, they cannot live happy lives and they cannot let others live happily if they are not with each other. Heathcliff turns into this very vengeful character who wants to destroy the Linton family and basically everyone who was the reason for him and Catherine not being together. Just a tip, this book can get super dark and depressing, and I suggest that if you're not in a good headspace, do not pick it up. If you're in a good headspace, that is when you pick up this book, and yeah, be ready to handle what comes your way. There are some conversations in the book which are so beautifully written that they'll just make you tear up and they'll stay with you your whole life. One of my favorite conversations in this book is a conversation between Catherine and Nellie, where Catherine is talking about her love for Heathcliff. She says, "He's more myself than I am. Whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same." Oh man, Heathcliff and his layered character and his intense love. Heathcliff is simultaneously a guy you want and you don't want. For me, the most striking part about this book is the way it handles the concept of love. Now, when we talk about love as love between two partners, we think of it as very black and white, right? Like, there are certain things which are okay and certain things which are not okay, the correctness and the not so correctness of it. But the way it's been handled in this book, it kind of takes you into the gray area in the middle, where revenge out of love, hatred out of love, hurt out of love, is that okay? Is that not okay? If you love somebody enough, is it okay to do certain things to them? Is it not okay? Like, it takes you into this very ambiguous kind of a dark area where you can't really say whether it's love or it's hate or what is it exactly, but I promise you it's an emotion that you have never felt before. All in all, to sum up, I would definitely recommend you read this book. It is dark, it is shocking, it can be difficult to read at times, but if you're a lover of English classics, you cannot miss out on this one. Actually, after a really long break, this book has brought me back into my phase of reading English classics, and I'm doing a deep dive. I'm going to be coming back soon with my reviews of Jane Austen's Emma, George Orwell's 1984, and much more, so stay tuned. Leave a comment, let me know what you felt about this book. If you loved it, you hated it, I would love to discuss it with you guys. I will be back with another book review the next time. Until then, thank you for watching and don't forget to like, share, subscribe.